Welcome back to Demon of the Week, and today we are having a look at the 29th spirit of the Goetia, Astaroth, and there's a lot to cover in this one, so buckle down. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Alright, Astaroth. As I said, there's a lot to cover in this one. Astaroth has many mentions, many associations, and well, let's get started with the usual stuff, the correspondences and the Goetia. So the date is December 31st, January 9th, direction south, tarot 3 of Pentacles, planet Venus, metal is copper, element earth, color green, plant laurel, incense sandalwood, zodiac is 10 to 20 degrees Capricorn, other correspondences ruby, cinquefoil, vervain, mugwort, emerald, beryl, lemon and juniper. And the N is Tassa Allura Foren Astaroth. Okay, so the Goetia, let's start there. Appeareth in the form of an hurtful angel, riding on an infernal beast like a dragon and carrying in his right hand a viper. Thou must in no wise let him approach too near unto thee, lest he do thee damage in his noisome breath. Noisome being sulphurous. He giveth true answers of things past, present, and to come, and can discover all secrets. He will declare wittingly how the spirits fell, if desired, and the reason of his own fall. He can make men wonderfully knowing in all liberal sciences. Okay, so when it comes to these Goetia spirits, and Astaroth is probably the best example, we find associations with ancient gods and goddesses. Now Astaroth is associated or cognate to Astarte, who also has association with Ishtar and Inanna. Now when we have a look at these goddesses, they all have the same correspondences or the same attributes. They are associated with war, sexuality, healing, hunting, royal power, fertility goddesses. That's Astarte. Inanna is love, war, fertility, beauty, sex, divine justice, political power. Ishtar, goddess of war and sexual love. So, Astarte, Inanna and Ishtar are very similar, if not possibly the same. If we look at areas of influence, Astarte was worshipped by the Sidonians and later Egyptian Hittites and the Canaanites. Inanna, Sumer, later Akkadians, Babylonians and Assyrians, and Ishtar was Akkadian. So all in the general area of the ancient Middle East, and there's probably overlaps, between each goddess. As I mentioned before, it's possible that travelers into one country picked up on a particular deity, they brought that knowledge back to their own area, and that became a part of their own pantheon and their own worship, and the name may just change here and there to suit that particular area. Possible, can't say for certain that's what happened, but that kind of makes sense. But if you look at all of that, it's focused very much around being a war goddess, sexuality, love, fertility, and such things. Whereas when we have a look at Astaroth in the Goetia, it's divination, telling you how the spirits fell, and liberal sciences. So very big gap there, and can't really marry the two. And this is why it's possible, I think, depending on how we view the Jinn, because the spirits of the Goetia are said to be Jinn. And if we consider the Jinn to be a race of their own, like humans, When we consider humans, we often give humans names. We name our babies after gods and goddesses, or after a lot of people use biblical names in order to bring them strength and power in their coming life. And it's quite possible that this is the same case here, but was regarding the Jinn themselves. They had children, and they named their children after the gods and goddesses and the spirits of the land at the time who were being worshipped. On the other hand, that is one possibility. Another possibility is that this is simply an aspect or an egregore of that deity. So Astaroth that is mentioned in the Goetia is different to the goddess Astaroth, or Astarte, or Inanna, or Ishtar, or even Isis, etc., etc. It became its own egregore, but it is connected to that deity, that goddess. So there are a few possibilities we can have a look at in that regard. But even the description is quite interesting for this one, because it does tie in with the goddess Astaroth, or Astarte, which I'll get to a bit later. But regarding what is also interesting is that Astaroth, or Astarte, is said to be the goddess that brought the downfall of King Solomon. And King Solomon had apparently many wives, and it says in 1 Kings, this is about Solomon himself, followed Astarte, the goddess of the Sidonians. And it's suspected that he did, although he was King Solomon and was supposed to follow the Jewish deity, there was a lot of influence from Astarte, and this is possibly due to his foreign wives. In fact, the Queen of Sheba actually came to visit him in order to witness his wonders and things like that. And I did read somewhere, I believe it's suspected that he did fall in love with the Queen of Sheba, and it's possible that the Astarte influence came from there as well. So Astaroth brought about the fall of Solomon. Let's have a look what else we got here. Interesting fact. Astaroth is the plural form of the goddess's name in Hebrew. This became a general term denoting goddesses and paganism. So in that regard, Astaroth itself is, that's Ashtaroth. There's various spellings of the name in meaning slightly different things, but they all have a relation. But Ashtaroth is quite interesting, because that kind of suggests an envelopment of all of the goddesses, not just one particular goddess. So we could possibly look at this as being an embodiment of all of the divine feminine aspects. All right, now some good sources for you if you do want to have a look into Astaroth a bit more. One of the best sources is Carol Pope Runyon. And I say best sources because in regards to Astaroth, Astarte, and also regarding evocation work. Now, Carol Pope Runyon started the OTA, the Order Templi Astartes, in 1970, and he wrote a book called the Book of Solomon's Magic, and there was also an accompanying video, The Magic of Solomon, which they are excellent. Now, Carol Pope Runyon is said to have rediscovered the art of scrying in the dark mirror in regards to the evocation work of the Goetia spirits. And this is a face reflection distortion method. And what he discovered was that, it's mentioned in the Goetia that the triangle with the dark mirror in the middle is meant to be so many feet away from the circle and so many feet elevated. And a lot of people just put the triangle with the scrying mirror on the floor, flat on the floor, and just use that, standing them in the circle itself. There's no reflection of the face within the mirror. So what Carol Pope Runyon did, he actually elevated the triangle and with the dark mirror in, and kind of elevated it and put it at an angle, so that when you're standing in the center of the circle, your face is reflected in the mirror. And then he holds the person who's doing the scrying. There's usually two operators in this. There's the scryer, and then the operator itself, who does the evocations, the invocations, the prayers, etc., etc. So the scryer stands in the center and holds two candles, so that there is a illumination of the face, and then gazes into the dark mirror where they see a reflection of their own face. And over time, scrying method, standard normal scrying method, the mirror goes blank, and then another face appears, which is then the face of the spirit you actually want to communicate with. So definitely have a look into Carol Pope Runyon's works. Another one which I've only just started reading, but I did read 2 of his other books this week, and I find his approach very good, very interesting. It's The Magic of Astaroth by David Thompson, and he does have the approach where he separates the demoness aspect and the goddess aspect. I'm not sure I would completely agree with that, but I understand why he does it. They kind of do have a different attitude, a different energy to them. But I do like his writing, I like his approach, I like the way he handles the topics of working with demons and such. So I have started reading that. I'm looking forward to that. You might want to pick it up. And as I said, read 2 of his previous books and I did enjoy them. There's also mention of Astaroth in the Grimoire Verum. Now the Grimoire Verum has 3 main demons that rule over their they are inferiors, I think they call them. So there's Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. Lucifer is said to inhabit Europe and Asia. Beelzebub inhabits Africa, and Astaroth inhabits America. I'm not really sure. I don't really enjoy that approach myself. It kind of gives the idea that if you are in America, you have to work with Astaroth. If you're outside America, you can't work with Astaroth. I think that's a bit pushing it a bit too far and a bit ridiculous. But anyway, there's also the Book of Abremelin. And this is the other interesting thing when you start to go between grimoires. Goetia just mentions Astaroth as one of the spirits of the book. You've got Grimoire Verum, which considers Astaroth to be one of the 3 major powers. And then the Book of Abremelin is one of the 8 mighty dukes of the chthonic underworld, under the rulership of the 4 demons, Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and Belial. So you find this difference in ranking, you find this difference in hierarchy, in power and everything else between them. So, it does almost speak of each magician connecting with a different egregore, possibly even creating their own egregores from that association and the energy, the build-up that happens with the association and the evocation and the workings. Let's have a look. Got so much to get through on this one. Alright, so Connolly mentions Demoness of Divination. Invoke her for scrying especially. She is also a demoness of friendship and love and can help you find these things. So Connolly, very short note, but does kind of bring the 2 together, the Astaroth of the Goetia and Astarte of the Sidonians and the Sumerians and the Akkadians, with the friendship and love. That aspect of love, of fertility, of beauty, sex, etc., 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 of the actual goddess, rather than the aspect of, I suppose we can say, the demoness of the Goetia and the other grimoires. Johannan, apart from everything else has been mentioned, he does mention that Astaroth is the aspect, or an aspect, of the actual goddess. And one cultural depiction is that is she who walks on a dragon and created a certain species of serpent, also connected with the planet Venus and all-knowing. And this root comes back to the description in the Goetia, angel riding on an infernal beast like a dragon, which is she who walks on a dragon, and carrying in his right hand a viper, which is the aspect of the depiction of her creating a certain species of serpent. This also brings to mind Babylon. Babylon riding the beast. So I do think there is an association with Babylon in this particular demon, goddess, deity, divine intelligence. Johannan also goes on to say, can impart the approval under the all-knowing part. Sorry, just to come back there. Under the all-knowing part, there's a long list of things associated with Astaroth in Johannan's writing. I'm not going to read through all of them. She is just all-knowing. Can impart the approval and good graces of powerful people to the witch. Can teach the magician to empower thought forms for healing purposes and the pursuit of monetary wealth. Can create a powerful thought form that acts as the guardian of the homestead. So those are very useful things if you want to have a look into that. He also mentions in the book of Sitra Akra, it says, master of the liminal points of crossing and the lord of the dark gate, guides the sorcerer to and through the abyss. Now this also extends into the Queen of Hell, which was written by Mark Allen Smith. And Johannan says regarding the Queen of Hell, the book, once Astaroth opens the gate and the witch crosses, the witch is stripped of ego and will experience visions and manifestations. Now, I did go and have a look at this, and there's a bit more than just that. So let me read the passages regarding this specifically. This is from The Queen of Hell by Mark Allen Smith. All those who would undertake the soul crossing of the dark abyss in their quest for the throne of Hecate are stripped of all ego and all that supports it. Loss becomes gain, and as only the bare soul itself remains before entering the dark abyss, death becomes life in the form of rebirth. A bit later on, it says the gates of Astaroth will strip bare all those who undertake this crossing. Here the ego is destroyed, and Moiras step forward from the shadows to cut the last cords which hold the soul to any preordained path. And then again, a little bit further on, once the gates of Astaroth have been opened and the darkness entered, visions and manifestation of the lurker can be seen in abundance as the soul forges its path beyond the domain of that which devours all who do not make the crossing. Okay, so a bit more to it than just that stripped of the ego and will experience visions and manifestations. Then in the Goetia ritual, it mentions Dr. Rudge said that Astaroth is the Greek Diabolus, that is an accuser or calumniator, who in the book of Revelations is called the accuser of the brethren, accusing them night and day before the face of God. Also mentions, interesting fact, Astarte's beast was a lion and symbol the 8-pointed star, and her consort is Baal, who is represented by the bull, who she rides when lunar. So yeah, I think I've got all of that. It was a longer one than usual. A lot of information about Astaroth, and also the relation with Astarte. Very interesting goddess and demon, demoness. So if this interests you, as I said, if it does interest you, I would definitely start with Carol Poke Runyon and his book and video. They are really good. I really did enjoy it. There's a lot of good information in the book, and the videos are good because it demonstrates an actual evocation ritual. And you know, Carol Poke Runyon actually used to start with an Enochian scrying before actually doing the Goetic evocation. So yeah, really interesting stuff there. See if you can find them. I did find the video years ago online. I'm sure it can still be found. It's a long time ago. So have a search on Google and see what you can find there. Alright, so that's it for now, and I'll see you next week with another one. Cheers for now, bye bye.